Lawcraft has been in development for around 6 months now, if you subtract game jams and traveling. And actually, it's no longer called Lawcraft. The name Lawcraft came from when it was a purely survival Minecraft-like game, and I've been wanting to change it because it gives the viewer the wrong impression of gameplay. Of course, there are crafting survival elements, but the name hides the story aspects of the game. So the game has gone through many changes in the time of development, but the core pillars are still there. What are the core pillars? Combat, decisions, and discovery. I want you to experience a world familiar yet foreign, with philosophical underpinnings that make you question whether your decision was good or not. A world living and breathing that reacts to your decisions. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So for now, the new name of the game is Darkness Falls. This name makes sense when you take into account the lore, and it's short and sweet. And although I miss the 2 syllables of Lawcraft, I don't miss the baggage that comes with it. I also like this name because it gives it a sort of Souls-like taste. And as I said, combat is huge in this game. And because of that, a core mechanic is going to be ripped out. And that's a 360 directional tool movement. I originally added this in the game to make my life easier. It was back in a time when I was solo, and I made decisions that would facilitate development. With this system, different tools are super easy to put in. And you may have known from my last video that Dream 8-Bit has been helping tremendously with art, and the help has enabled me to get into the mindset to actually take this system out that doesn't look and feel the best. Don't get me wrong, 360 degree of motion does make sense for many games, but for the combat feel that I want in Darkness Falls, it didn't work the way I wanted. Also, I'm thinking of taking the mouse out of the game altogether and having gameplay all through the keyboard. We'll see how that goes. And speaking of help from pixel artist, another talented individual has joined the team, and she's to thank for the new environment, Snow. Before, I was using this asset pack from Anna Kalisa, and it was a placeholder, but now after discussions with Snow about changing the assets, we got to discussing the area we can base the biome off, and we settled on the Oregon coast vibe, and that's the pixel art you see. There's a lot of stuff that is a work in progress. It's also difficult because there's not a lot of bitmask templates to base it off of, so there's a lot of learning and experimentation, but it's been so great working with people that share the same vision. Now I'm working on an actual vertical slice of the game, Chapter 1. Though organizing the game into chapters is more internal, because I want the people to have the freedom to experience the content at their own rate and not feel trapped by invisible chapter barriers. Open world is an important restraint. In order to keep an open world, I've had to focus a lot of my energy on performance and architecture. There were some nasty habits I had from making smaller games that I had to consciously fix, like putting UI in the main character. I reconstructed the root game node and came up with an architecture I liked. In the save state sync node, I'm going with the approach to centralize all retrieval and input of world save data so things don't get messy with using outdated information. I'm going with the rapid prototype and testing style, so we'll see if this holds up. The layers in the world are definitely a messy thing to deal with considering this is a tile-based open world. I'm reluctant to do too many changes in this area because Grout is currently changing the tile map layers, and I believe this will help my game tremendously. But currently my world is composed of 11 layers. The biggest layer is the sand, and the second biggest layer is the grass. The water layer is currently under construction, but it will definitely be a big one as well. I've even made some handy debug tools so that I could see the layers and delete them and see how that affects performance. The reason I have 3 cliff layers is because that's the only way I got 3 level cliffs working, but there may be a better solution. It's also important I separate the terrain layers and tile layers because the information is saved differently. Terrains are saved in a dictionary where the key is a vector 2, because I need to store the 2 terrain integers, and the values are an array of positions. The tiles are saved with keys of vector 3, with the x and y being the atlas coordinates and the z being the source ID, and the values are again an array of positions. Lawcraft used to be fully procedurally generated, and that experience has taught me what happens when you push the tile maps to the limits, and has left me with the knowledge of the pressure points in the system. It also taught me that chunk loading is the spawn of Satan. So I'm going to try out this approach where the chunks are separate tile maps, and I'll let you know how this goes in the future developments. Quick message from our sponsors! This video is sponsored by Zenva. If you're excited about game development with Godot 4, you've got to check out Zenva Academy. They offer easy to follow courses that are ideal for both beginners and intermediate level developers who are looking for structured learning pathways. Zenva makes learning practical and fun. You get professional video tutorials, written lessons, and interactive quizzes. Plus, you'll get to work on real projects building games games in different genres like open world, RPGs, and FPS. Zenva isn't just about Godot. They have courses on Blender, Unity, Unreal, and other tools. With one subscription including a 7-day free trial, you unlock over 250 courses and 32 learning pathways. And here's a special deal. You can get an extra 20% off your first year of your annual Zenva subscription, on top of any existing site discounts. This special offer is only valid for the first 50 subscribers, so if you want a great place to start learning in your game development journey, you should definitely check out Zenva. And not only did the art change, but I increased the size significantly, though it's still using the same noise values. And who knows, it may increase in the future, but that will be determined after a lot of testing. And that's why it's important when I create the world that I don't cement too many nodes together, but keep the logic pretty modular. Fun fact, Fallout 1 used the GURPS RPG system. And around 8 months before release, Steve Jackson Games pulled the license. I think they didn't like the level of violence, but thankfully since the code was super modular, they were able to replace it with the legendary special system we know and love today. If the leveling system was hard-coded, the Fallout series might not have even existed. I originally thought that Logcraft would be an early access game, but actually I hadn't realized that early access doesn't work too well with games that have a story, because the story may undergo many changes through development, and having users play piece by piece with such changes could greatly affect their enthusiasm for the game once it's officially released. Thankfully, I came across a GDC talk, A Long Dark Road, blending player and authored story in a sandbox survival game. And here, the developers of The Long Dark ran into the same issue and ended up making a separate survival mode with limited story so that they can develop and still send versions of the games to the Kickstarter backers. The survival mode ended up taking on a life of its own, and there are many players who prefer it to the narrative mode. Actually, I had ideas for this early on in development, and I even stored the data whether the user world was open or story. We were also using Campfire to organize the lore of the game, and it was working out super good. The templates they offer to get your feet off the ground helped immensely. But since then, we've opted on a lightweight system for organizing the lore, and I've chosen Obsidian, specifically with the Xcali Draw plugin. This tool helps so much from level design to architecture to just organizing your thoughts. Can't recommend it enough. Also, something I'm very proud to announce is the Steam page for Darkness Falls is currently in the works, so soon you guys will be able to wishlist it. This makes me so excited and just makes the whole process more official. I want to thank you guys for all the love and support throughout these years of game deving. Thank you for all the people who watch the videos, thank you to the people who pop in the streams, and of course, thank you to all the amazing Patreon supporters who go above and beyond to show your support. Making games has been so much fun, and I'm so happy I get to share this experience with such an awesome community. So yeah, we're super stoked with the direction of Logcraft. Thank you so much for following around with the development. More videos to come. Let's freaking go. This game is gonna be released. Have an amazing time. I'll catch you next time. What am I doing with my hands?